My name's Lynn A. Davis. I have practiced law for about the past 18 years in Little Rock, Arkansas. I, on or about April of 1993, was contacted by Roger Perry, who was on the governor's security staff for the present governor of the state of Arkansas. I went to the Arkansas State Police Association headquarters where Roger was president. As a matter of fact, Roger was twice elected president of the Arkansas State Police Association. I went over there to buy a cap, and Roger Perry told me at that time that he had something of earth-shaking importance that he wanted to discuss with me. He told me that 4 troopers and potentially a 5th trooper wanted to come forward publicly and tell what they knew about the real Bill Clinton. I asked him about the other troopers and didn't think too much about it. I said to myself, well, it's the same old sex stories. But he insisted that I go talk to these people. And this was, after all, 50% of the information pool, because there were about 10 people on the governor's security staff, and they had been there for quite some time. I met with these individuals, and they advised me that they were concerned about national security. During the campaign, they had been asked by various news media hundreds of times to tell the news media and tell the people of America something about Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, and they refused. Of course, the reason they did refuse was that if Bill Clinton had not been elected president, then he would have been governor of the state of Arkansas for another 3 years. And they felt like this was not the time to do this. But after he was elected, they wanted to come forward and tell about the real Bill Clinton. They advised me of some of the incidents. They named some females, some ladies that Bill Clinton had sexual liaisons with. They had told me about the circumstances under which he met with these women, about their using state police personnel and equipment to facilitate these liaisons. They even pointed out to me the specific place that these things happened. And these things were verified by 4 troopers, not each one having, all 4 having seen the same act, but all of them meeting in common ground as to how it happened, that they would take Bill Clinton there and they would wait for him. These were, to me, at that time, I thought about these as maybe being unusual, but I didn't think at that particular time about it being a matter of national security. Later, I decided that I would conduct an investigation. My background is such that an investigation was one of the things that I thought of as being able to resolve this question in my own mind. I was a special agent with the FBI for 6.5 years. I was director of the Arkansas State Police, as a matter of fact, back in 1967. Then I was the United States Marshal for the Eastern District of Arkansas for 5 years. And then I've practiced law for about 18 years. I, at that time, did an investigation and found that some of the individuals who were writers for national publications had verified that then Governor Bill Clinton had called one of these ladies 59 times, and at one time had talked to her for over an hour. I had done some checking on the Whitewater matter. Very little checking at that time, but it later proved that this brought up the question of Vince Foster's death. Vince Foster was, of course, the personal attorney for Hillary and Bill Clinton and was a partner with Hillary Clinton at the Rose Law Firm. I knew Vincent Foster not all that well, but after thinking about, on July the 20th, Vincent Foster's life coming to an end, being the same day that David Hale, who is a person in Little Rock who has pleaded guilty to fraud charges, had stated previously that because of Bill Clinton, he had gotten into trouble. Now, I didn't know whether that was true or not. I didn't have to make a judgment on that. But the day that search warrant was issued for David Hale's office is the day that Vincent Foster lost his life. At that time, I expected any day for the report to come forward about Vincent Foster shooting himself. Here's the gun, here are powder marks, here are the rounds, we found the round, you know, a medical examination, photographs, witnesses, all of the things that I would have done if I were conducting the investigation. Within a matter of hours, it was decided that this was a suicide. I was disappointed, and I'm still disappointed that ABC later got photographs, supposedly from the crime scene, at a different time of the year. They weren't taken at the time of the actual incident. And one picture of a hand with a gun. And the Wall Street Journal had to file suit trying to get the file on Vincent Foster. And yet it was leaked to ABC, only one or two pictures. I decided, based upon a number of things, including those things, that we should take it seriously. I went to Cliff Jackson, who has been spun by the spin doctors as being a lifetime critic of Bill Clinton. It's not so. The first time he ever criticized Bill Clinton was in 1992, and that was for the draft dodging issue. I called Cliff Jackson one day. I told Cliff that we needed to meet. This was either the 29th or the 30th, I believe, of August. And he said, well, I'm not a conspiracy buff, but he said, my telephone doesn't sound right. Let's meet someplace else. And I said, where? And he said, McDonald's on Rodney Parham. We went to on Rodney Parham, went to McDonald's, and we were to meet in 15 minutes. When we got there, we were in the back booth talking, and an individual sat up front and watched us for over an hour. I don't know who he was. I don't know that Bill Clinton had anything to do with that. I don't know whether Bill Clinton had anything to do with what I later did. I told Cliff, I said, one of us is hot. I will leave first, and if he follows me, I will be hot. If he stays with you, it'll mean that you're hot. I left, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw a black Chevrolet Suburban van. I immediately knew what it was. I went over to my car, got in my car, took off and dry cleaned myself, and came back behind the van. The van had a Texas license plate on it. I got behind the van, followed him, and then took off. He seemed like he was lost, seemed like he was out of position to me, being 15 years a cop. Anyway, I had a friend to do a 1028 and 1029, which is registration and whether a vehicle is stolen or not. This Texas license plate came back from the Department of Public Safety as not in file. Not in file to all law enforcement officers means that it is either a state or a federal or local, I suppose, surveillance vehicle. I had the hell scared out of me. With all of my experience, I was scared. After I got over my fright, I was determined. I was determined that this was not right, and if I was scared, I could imagine what a person who wasn't an attorney for 18 years and wasn't a cop for 15 years, how they would feel. Then on September the 1st, Danny Ferguson, an Arkansas State Trooper and one of the original troopers who later dropped out, recounted a telephone call that he had gotten from President Bill Clinton. President Clinton had offered him jobs and had offered Roger Perry a job. President Clinton, according to Danny Ferguson, had told him that he had heard that troopers were telling some tales about him and he wanted to know what was going on. Danny told him, I think, in shorthand what was going on and that they and we were meeting. According to Danny, the president told him that he wanted him to stay in the group and let him know what was going on, and he would go in the back door and close it down. Then he says, according to Danny Ferguson, how would you like to be the United States Marshal for the Eastern District of Arkansas? And that's the position I used to hold. And or would you rather have a FEMA job, Federal Emergency Management Agency job, that pays about $90,000 in Denver, Colorado? The president told Danny Ferguson, according to Danny, and he later recounted it to us, that the president had told him that he wanted him to stay in the group, keep him advised as to what was happening, and when he found out what was happening, the president would go in the back door and close it down. The president then, not in exchange for silence and not in exchange for shaping the stories, but simply for staying in the group, then he asked him, how would you like to be the United States Marshal for the Eastern District of Arkansas, or a FEMA director, a position which pays about $90,000 a year? This made me determined even more so. Then, for the icing on the cake, Buddy Young, who had already been appointed to a FEMA position in Denton, Texas, who was formerly director of the governor's security, came into Little Rock, and he contacted 3 of the troopers, telling them that they would be ruined if they came forward in this endeavor. He tried to contact the 4th one, Larry Patterson, but Larry Patterson's mother was quite ill, and he was out of town, and Buddy Young never found out where he was. They had other threats made to them. Then, on September the 26th, Luther Gerald Parks, who was head of security for the presidential campaign headquarters in Little Rock, was shot and killed in Little Rock under suspicious circumstances. Shot 9 times, I believe. We had information from other sources that shredding was going on at the Rose Law Firm when Whitewater heated up. Then on September the 30th, Carl Kirkland, who had been made head of governor's security, this is September the 30th of 1993, was promoted from sergeant to lieutenant without benefit of either oral or written examinations, which were required by the state police policy. State police policy required that a person to be promoted from sergeant to lieutenant go before 3 committees. One of those committees would be composed of 7 supervisors. Without any of that, Carl Kirkland, who before would tell you all kinds of stories about Bill and Hillary Clinton, suddenly became silent because he had been promoted to lieutenant. Then Mark Allen, who was also on governor's security staff, was promised the sergeant's slot. Mark Allen was another one who had very close contact with President Clinton and Hillary Clinton, and anybody who would listen would be told stories about the same things that these troopers were telling me. On December the 23rd, Betsy Wright, who is now a lobbyist in Washington, came back to Little Rock. She made several trips to the mansion, talked to Danny Ferguson, tried to get him to change his story. Then, lo and behold, out of Washington, D.C., out of the White House, comes 5 different drafts of affidavits that they tried to get Danny Ferguson to sign, saying that he recanted his story. Finally, Danny Ferguson relented and let his attorney sign an affidavit stating that the president had not explicitly said that he could have a job for silence. And the president, of course, never said that. The president didn't say that he would give them jobs for silence. He just said, stay in the group and let me know what's going on. I'll come in the back door and close it down. But the press picked up on it, and the spin doctors out of the White House tried to say that, the story has been recanted. One of the troopers changed their story. They even tried to indicate that it was Larry and Roger who might have signed the affidavit. Several things bothered me at this time. One was that the spin doctors had tried to discredit us, and I thought it was unfair that they had tried to discredit us. They tried to discredit the troopers. They even had, after they came out, and it was made public in December of '93, they even accused Larry and Roger of insurance fraud, which was the farthest thing from the truth. They said in order to promote this conspiracy of silence, the director of the Arkansas State Police said that he was asking for an attorney general's opinion to find out if it was illegal if these troopers went public. This conspiracy of silence even went further. They said that, where is your corroboration? Are any other troopers going to come forward? Well, it just so happens that a 5th trooper came forward the other day. Sally Perdue came forward, one of the ladies. Jennifer Flowers came forward. Roger Perry and Larry Patterson had numerous contacts with her, calling the governor's mansion to talk to Bill Clinton. And then Paula Jones came forward the other day and alleged sexual harassment by Bill Clinton at the Excelsior Hotel while she was a state employee. He made a sexual advance to her. You see, it's not, in my opinion, an individual's peccadillos and sexual liaisons is between himself and his family. If he's governor, it's between him and his people, but there's not much to give away. But I remember back during the summer of 1993 when Bill Clinton was meeting for the summit in Canada, Gabriella Guest, who gave Helmut Kohl, the West German chancellor, his daily briefing. His daily security briefing was given to him by Gabriella Guest. That same briefing was given to her lover, who just happened to be an East German spy. To me, a non-admission, just simply saying they are ridiculous stories, they are bizarre and whatever, and not admitting those leaves one open to not only possible criticism, but almost surely compromise and blackmail. Two of my friends, two people who I have heard our own end talk to press people who have repeated these stories about Bill and Hillary Clinton, our own end, and I've never had any reason to doubt their truth and veracity. And that's Roger Perry and Larry Patterson. I had to make the decision long ago that I believed every word they told me, and I don't have any reason to doubt that today.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and where you reside for the record.
Roger L. Perry. I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name and where you reside for the record.
Larry G. Patterson, Little Rock, Arkansas.
Larry and Roger, are you both here today giving testimony without threat of consequence or promise of favor?
I haven't been promised anything for being here today.
That is correct.
Okay, tell us where you are currently employed.
I'm employed with the Arkansas State Police and have been so for the past 18 years.
I'm employed with the Arkansas State Police and am working in my 28th year.
When did you initially decide to come forward with the information that you have?
It was in the early spring of 1993, say around May.
That's correct. Shortly after the inauguration, Roger and myself, along with two other troopers, met several times and discussed what our duties was and what our responsibilities was, and we decided to come forward with the story about the real Bill Clinton.
When did you initially decide to come forward with the information that you have?
It was in the spring of 1993. I believe it was May when we first started talking about coming forward with the allegations.
Shortly after the inauguration, Roger, along with two other troopers, myself, met. We spent several hours meeting and talking about what our responsibilities was about letting the American people know about the true character of Bill Clinton.
Were there any other factors that motivated your coming forward?
Just that, you know, like I said, the American people have a right to know that the man was polished, packaged, he was sold to the American people, and that is not the true Bill Clinton.
Why are you giving testimony today?
To preserve the truth.
The mainstream media has suggested your motivation is based solely on profit. Please tell us what profit, if any, you have received in regards to this story.
I haven't received any profit from coming forward with the story. Matter of fact, I have suffered financially for coming forward with the truth.
That's the case of both Roger and myself. We've both lost second jobs. We've, by a certain section of people in our profession at State Police Headquarters, we have been shunned, been treated like we have some dread disease.
Do you consider yourself whistleblowers?
I consider myself to be a person of character and believe that when I see something being done that's wrong, to report that. And that's what I'm doing today.
How about you, Larry?
I consider myself as a patriot, and that I think it's my duty to let the American people know about what I saw, what I experienced while I worked for this man.
Well, history has shown that whistleblowing usually results in financial suicide. So what possible incentive does an honest man have to come forward without being publicly ostracized, ridiculed, threatened, possibly even prosecuted, simply because he wants to tell the truth?
That's it, is to tell the truth, to let the American people know the true character of the man that is the leader of our country and of the free world.
Well, what reprisals, if any, have you experienced by coming forward?
Well, when I first came forward in December, I was counseled by the powers that are in Arkansas. I was counseled by a director of the state police. I was transferred. I was pressured into resigning my position as president of the Arkansas State Police Association, and I've suffered in a lot of other ways.
How about you, Larry?
I had to quit a second job because of what I had done. I lost that. And just, you know, on a daily basis, having to take, you know, the little cute remarks that some of my co-workers make every day still, and it's been almost a year since we started discussing this, and we're in the, fourth month since this came out, and it came out in the latter part of December. It's now over 4 months, and we're still having to put up with this thing.
Has this changed your personal or social lives any?
Oh, yes. There's, on occasion, I've taken my family to eat and hear remarks from people in the restaurant. More good remarks than bad, but at the same time, some of the proprietors of the restaurants in Little Rock don't want you in there. There's a few that are known President Clinton supporters, and they'd rather you not be in their establishment.
Are either of you concerned for your personal safety?
Certainly, we've had some concerns since we started on this venture together. We're a little bit more security conscious than we have ever been before. We have received some threats by mail, some by telephone. No one has come up to us and made a threat in person, but like I said, we have received some by phone and by letters.
When were you first assigned as personal security for the Clintons?
Well, I was assigned to Governor Bill Clinton in his first term, January of 1979. I worked for him for 10 months, and was reassigned to Highway Patrol and returned to Governor Security in 1989 and was there until December, the latter part of December.
I came on the detail in May of 1987 and remained on the detail until July of 1993.
Tell us about damage control within the Clinton political machine.
Well, there's several people that are known damage control personnel for Bill Clinton. They acted in that capacity while he was governor of the state of Arkansas. Betsy Wright, Raymond Buddy Young, excuse me, let me back up. Betsy Wright was his chief of staff at one time while he was serving as governor of the state of Arkansas. Raymond Buddy Young was head of governor security. Rocky Wilmoth, who is a businessman and a fundraiser for Governor Bill Clinton. They threatened us. They distorted the truth, worked with certain news media people in distorting that truth. And Larry and I would just like the American people to know how the truth was distorted and twisted.
I think probably getting back to the people who took care of the damage control, Bruce Lindsay, who was an attorney in Little Rock, who is now one of the White House staff counselors, Betsy Wright, Bruce. Those were the two main damage control people in the Clinton administration while he was governor and during his making the run for the presidency.
There were articles about y'all being involved in insurance fraud. Can you bring us up to date on that?
Yes, Larry and I had an automobile accident. It was December 28th, 1990, and my neck was broken in that accident, and I had a large amount of medical bills, and Columbia Mutual Insurance Company refused to pay my medical bills. And I had to sue Larry in order for them to represent him. And just recently, 3 weeks ago, circuit judge in Little Rock, Arkansas ruled in mine and Larry's favor, saying that Columbia Mutual did have to cover my medical bills.
Who is Jennifer Flowers?
The first time I met Jennifer Flowers was in 1979. She was associated with Bill Clinton. She called the mansion on a regular basis, and if Hillary wasn't at home at the time Jennifer called, Bill Clinton would accept the calls, and basically he just carried on an affair with her for the past 12 years.
Was she ever given a state job?
Yes, she was. She was given a state job with the Employment Security Division agency there in Arkansas. She was given that job in return for sexual favors. Over 9 other people who worked in that agency and had worked there for years hoping to obtain the position that Jennifer Flowers received on the merit system. These people were experienced people, had a lot of background with that agency, and Jennifer Flowers was given that position with no background or prior experience.
Larry, this damage machine we discussed a while ago, was it put into place to deal with the Jennifer Flowers episode when it came out?
Certainly it was. Immediately after Jennifer Flowers held her news conference, all the damage control people started gathering at the governor's mansion. That was Betsy Wright and Bruce Lindsay, all of those people, and they immediately started trying to find out everything they could about Jennifer so they could discredit her. And that's, like I said, that started immediately.
Jennifer Flowers also, when she came forward with her story, we were told by the director of Governor Security at that time, which was Raymond Buddy Young, that if we would not talk to the news media if we knew what was good for us.
Did these covert sexual encounters with Jennifer or anyone else continue to occur even after Bill Clinton had won the presidential election?
Yes, they not only occurred while he was running for the presidency, but they occurred after he became president-elect. The last sexual encounter he had in Arkansas at the governor's mansion was the day that he was leaving for Washington, D.C., about 5 days before the presidential inauguration. He had troopers sneak a female by Secret Service, take her to the basement in the governor's mansion, deliver the female to him, then ordered the trooper to stand on the stairway in the second floor leading to the upstairs bedrooms where Hillary and Chelsea were sleeping at the time, and ordered that trooper to stand guard.
Larry, were you ever instructed by Governor Clinton to solicit women for sexual encounters?
Yes, on many occasions, we would be at a event where the governor was speaking. He would see some lady. Verbiage that he often used was, he would come over to you and he'd say, Larry, see the blonde over there? She has that come hither look. Go get her name and her telephone number for me. And on many, many occasions, I was sent into the crowd to get a number and a name from some lady that he saw.
Was this while on Arkansas taxpayer time?
Yes, sir. It was while I was on duty and providing security for the governor.
Using state resources also?
That is correct.
Larry, did Buddy Young ever threaten you in any way or pass on any threat to you that you came from?
4 times during the campaign, every time the news media FOI'd, Freedom of Information Act, and had access to our personnel files, I was called in. I was called in on 4 occasions by Buddy Young, and I was counseled. I was told that if I knew what was good for me, if I knew what was best for me and my family, that I would keep my mouth shut, that I would not talk to the news media.
I also received a telephone call from Buddy Young, 1st of September, 1993. And Buddy Young threatened me by saying that if Larry and I decided to go forward with this story, that we would be destroyed and our reputations would be destroyed. And he also said that he represented the President of the United States. At that particular time, there was 4 of us, 4 Arkansas troopers that was going to come forward with the stories about Bill Clinton's true character. The day after I received that phone call from Raymond Buddy Young, 2 of those troopers backed out and didn't want to have anything to do with the story on Bill Clinton.
I received a letter from Buddy in late September, and he was a handwritten note, and he was inquiring about my health. Well, I've known Buddy Young since 1968. In February of 1968, Buddy Young and I attended troop school for the Arkansas State Police at Camden, Arkansas. In the years from 1968 until 1993, Buddy had never inquired about my health prior to that, but in September he wrote a handwritten note inquiring about my health, and I think I know what it was for. It was an opening. He wanted me to call him, and if I had called Buddy, then he would have immediately gotten into the idea of what Roger and I was doing. I know that's what it was for.
Roger, who is Rocky Wilmoth, and was he part of the Clinton's damage control team?
Rocky Wilmoth was a good friend of David Pryor's, a good friend of Bill Clinton's, a good friend of Jim Guy Tucker's, who is now the present governor. He is a businessman from Batesville. He is a fundraiser for any governor that's a Democratic governor from the state of Arkansas. And he relayed a message to 2 of my co-workers one night at the governor's mansion. I came in to relieve those 2 troopers from their shift. I was working midnights that night. And Rocky had been there earlier in the day and had told them that he wanted a message relayed to me and Larry. And I asked them what the message was. And they said that they needed to tell Larry and I that if we went forward with these stories on Bill Clinton, that we would definitely be destroyed.
Did Bill Clinton himself ever call either one of you and relate any stories or any threats, any promises or anything to y'all?
Bill Clinton never called me personally after he heard rumors that there was 4 of us going to come forward with stories on his sexual escapades. But he called Danny Ferguson and offered Danny Ferguson a job as regional FEMA director and our U.S. Marshal, and told Danny that I could have anything I wanted if I would just not do what I was doing.
Okay, Larry, this one's for you. How do you see the relationship between Hillary and Bill Clinton?
It was a relationship that was very different. You know, I've never been around two people that had a relationship like they had. If they were together for more than 5, 6, 7 hours, they were arguing, and it was usually something, you know, that was a real verbal exchange. I think it was a politically correct marriage.
It's more of a partnership. They never showed affection. The affection that they led the American public to believe that existed between them was never there. I've worked there. I've known the Clintons for 15 years. I never saw that affection.
With this situation like this, how was it like working in the governor's mansion?
It was the most stressful job I have ever had in my life. You were on pins and needles from the time you got to work until you got off. On the day prior to you going in, it was hard to sleep. I would have to take medication to sleep. You never knew at any moment when you were around them when they were going to blow up, and you know, it was unbelievable. You know, the least little thing could set them off, and if you were the closest one to them, then you received the brunt of the wrath.
They were both very capable of throwing temper tantrums and did so quite often. I would like to give you an example of what it was like to work for Hillary Clinton. There was a young man stationed in governor's security several years ago, and he was asked to go to the cleaners and pick up Mrs. Clinton's clothes. When he returned to the mansion, he noticed that one of the buttons was missing off the clothes. He worried about it so long and thought about it and how she was going to retaliate against him for that button missing off her clothes, that he went into the bathroom, actually threw up, and had to go home sick from worrying about it. That's very stressful.
Tell us something about the stories, Larry, of Chelsea's nanny that was paid by the state, or something relating to that story that I read.
Okay, when I went on the detail in 1987, we had a paid full-time babysitter. Her job was to take care of Chelsea, and she picked Chelsea up in the afternoon. If the Clintons were away from the mansion, she took her to school in the morning. She spent the night with her. She took her to all of her extracurricular activities after school. She was on the state payroll and lived on the grounds of the mansion. In the time my tenure in governor's security, we had a total of 4 babysitters.
Roger, what do you know about state employees being used for gardener work around Hillary's parents?
Well, I just know that inmates were taken to Mr. and Mrs. Rodham's home in the Heights there in Little Rock, Arkansas, and the Rodhams are Hillary's mother and father. And they were asked to do gardening work. They were also taken to Ann McCoy's home, who was the mansion administrator under then Governor Bill Clinton. And they did yard work, cleaning up work, painting, things such as that on state time.
Larry, do you think Bill Clinton was out of touch with the average American?
Certainly was. He told me on several occasions, he said, if Hillary and I are ever out of office, he said, I don't know what we'll do. We do not know how to buy groceries. We don't know what it's like to make car payments or house payments. Certainly was out of touch.
These people drink coffee, and they didn't know how to make a pot of coffee. Back during the presidential campaign, when George Bush asked what a scanner was in a grocery store, the news media made such a big deal out of President Bush not knowing what that was, that it frightened the campaign strategists for Bill Clinton, and they had several people come to the governor's mansion and counsel with him and Hillary, the governor and Hillary, on how much milk cost, how much eggs cost, things such as that.
Larry, tell us some stories about the campaigning that went on in the governor's office, where I believe you said you had to open up 35,000 letters to a cat or something like this. Tell us about that.
That's true. After the campaign got underway, the state police, state employees were used to sort the mail, to open mail, to deliver stuff to campaign headquarters, to pick up stuff at campaign headquarters. There's an Arkansas state statute that forbids Arkansas State Police from taking part in any campaign. And we had 3 Arkansas State policemen just a few years back that were disciplined, one of them for going by a campaign headquarters while he was off duty, another one for on his days off helping put up campaign signs, and another one that had a part-time business who his business partner made a contribution to this candidate. All 3 of these state policemen were disciplined, lost days off, were suspended because of their campaign activity. But we as state policemen during the presidential campaign done this on a daily basis.
And if you complained about it, such as opening socks to cat's mail, if you complained about that, they would just tell you, this is what you have to do. If you don't like it, we can transfer you. And as you would complain about having to do many things that were not job-related duties in governor security, that would be their response. Well, you can just leave. You can just get another job.
Roger, how do you describe Bill Clinton, the private man?
Well, Bill Clinton is a very egotistical individual. On several occasions, he would compare himself or something that he had been working on to John F. Kennedy, President Kennedy. And he told me one time, and we were in an airplane, and said that he thought that the American people perceived him as a John Fitzgerald Kennedy, and that he actually resembled John Kennedy. Even though he compared himself to John Kennedy to me, I didn't know John Kennedy personally like I did Bill Clinton, but I would venture to say that he wouldn't make a pimple on his forehead. But there was other sides of Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was a very intelligent individual, book-wise, common sense-wise, as the average American citizen in this country, the working class people, refer to common sense. He had none. It was a difficult task for him to make a pot of coffee or try to go to Blockbuster Video and pick up a movie or anything that most Americans do in a routine day was almost impossible for him to do. He would, not only Bill Clinton, but Hillary Clinton would just throw tantrums, fits, screaming, kicking, breaking things. I've actually seen him rake the entire top of a desk off in the floor because somebody said something he didn't like. She did the same things. He's broken cellular phones, and the tantrums were, when I say tantrum, it's the type tantrum that most people's kids throw when they don't get their way, and most Americans punish their children for throwing those tantrums. That's the kind of tantrums I'm talking about.
Roger, What influence, if any, did Hillary have on the affairs of state in Arkansas?
Well, from being around them for 7 years, Hillary influenced all issues and policies that Bill Clinton dealt with. I've seen her, if Bill Clinton made a decision on a certain issue and she didn't like his stand on that issue, she would scream, yell at him, degrade him, tell him that he had messed up, that he had done the wrong thing politically, not for what was best for the people of Arkansas, but politically, that he had hurt himself by making that decision. And he would just put his head down. I never saw Bill Clinton stand up to Hillary Rodham Clinton. He would just put his head down, and within 2 or 3 days, whatever issue she had jumped on him about and had differed in opinion would be changed. He would change his view on a certain issue because he had crossed Hillary.
Like Roger said, any major policy, any major legislation, Hillary Clinton had more input into Arkansas state government than the chief of staff, than any state senator, or any representative. She was included on any and all staff meetings concerning legislation and state government.
Roger, as a police officer, what is your opinion on Bill Clinton's new crime bill?
Well, me being a police officer, and my heart goes out to all policemen across this country, especially the work that we do in the 90s. Police work has changed. Drugs have taken this country over, and his crime bill is to get tough on violent crime and the other many issues. But the one that I have found fascinating is he has told the American people that he's putting 100,000 additional policemen on the street. And that is deceitful. That is not the truth. He's putting those 100,000 police officers or 50,000 police officers, whatever they decide to put on the street, but they are not additional. In the state of Arkansas alone, I have many friends that work for Drug Task Force that are federally funded through grants, that in January 1 of 1995, 108 policemen in the state of Arkansas will be out of a job. And he's telling the American public that he's putting all these additional policemen on the street. And in reality, in the state of Arkansas, he's going to replace those 108 police officers with families who's going to be out of a job with 4 police officers. And all 4 of those police officers are going to be stationed in the city of Pine Bluff, Arkansas. That's the only addition the state of Arkansas will receive.
What were the procedures, if any, in regards to procuring women for Bill Clinton?
He started out by talking about their anatomy. Large breast, nice buttocks, whatever, and he would just go on and on. And I was always afraid that people standing close would overhear him and embarrass him, but he didn't seem to care.
On several occasions, we'd be in a crowd and there'd be an attractive lady, and it would get to the point where you would have to literally walk up and get him by the arm and say, "Governor, we need to leave, we need to move now. You're going to embarrass yourself. We need to go." And we'd have to lead him away.
Hillary Clinton at functions has actually made the statement to Bill Clinton, "Put it back in your pants, Bill. We're going to have to go."
Other than Jennifer Flowers, do either of you know if Bill Clinton had any other long-term mistresses?
Yes, I know of a couple that were more than 2. But one especially, she lived in the same condos that I lived in Sherwood, Arkansas. And the Lincoln Continental that was assigned to him was seen there several times by me. State police cars that he would drive, saw there on many occasions. This relationship went on for several years.
When Bill Clinton would leave the governor's mansion on these late night rendezvous, he would ask myself, Larry, other troopers to lie for him if Hillary woke up and caught him gone. But there has been occasions that he has driven the gardener's pickup truck, which has the doors beat in, the windshield's busted. It's just an old pickup truck that they use around the governor's mansion grounds for picking up manure or whatever. But he would actually go meet some of these women in that old beat-up pickup truck.
In 1990, everyone in governor's security was assigned Chevrolet Corsicas, small, mid-sized cars. We were told by our supervisors to keep our cars cleaned up and to keep them gassed up because the governor liked to drive them. And on many occasions he would come out in the evening hours and he'd say, give me the keys to your car. I'm going to take a ride, or I need to run an errand. And he'd take our cars and be gone for an hour, 2 to 3 hours, come back in. He would always come back into our office and go back into the bathroom and wash up before he went back into the house.
We were there to provide security for the governor and his family. And if he was wanting to go off on one of his sexual escapades, he didn't need us. On the mornings that he jogged in the Little Rock area, he would go jogging, take off at the governor's mansion, be picked up by a female, and approximately an hour and a half later, he would call you on the phone from a payphone at McDonald's in Little Rock, on Broadway in Little Rock, and tell you to come and pick him up. I've picked him up on many occasions and asked him how far he had ran that morning. And he would say, oh, I did 5 miles this morning. And I would say, Governor, there must be something wrong with your sweat glands. You haven't been sweating. And he'd say, oh, y'all don't miss anything. He would get back to the mansion and actually go in the bathroom and sprinkle water on the chest area of his sweatshirt to make it look like he had been sweating.
Larry, tell us of an incident involving a female department store clerk that Bill Clinton took to Chelsea Clinton's elementary school.
It was either 88, 89. The Chamber of Commerce were in Little Rock for state chamber meetings, and they had hospitality rooms. And we had made probably 5 or 6. We were in the process of leaving the North Little Rock Hilton. He stopped and made a telephone call, and he told me, he said, we got in the car, and he said, Larry, I need to make a stop. He said, I've got to meet a friend. She's having some problems. She needs some counseling. And I said, well, we're going to her house, Gov? He said, no. I said, we're going to meet her at Chelsea's elementary school. So I drove to Chelsea's elementary school, Booker Elementary School. He said, why don't you wait in the driveway here? And I said, I see her car sitting right down here. And the car was approximately 120 feet away from where I was sitting, and it was sitting underneath a night light. And he said, I'll go down and we'll visit there. So I literally blocked the street going into Booker Elementary School with the Lincoln. He went down to meet the lady. Some time had passed, and 2 uniformed Little Rock City policemen pulled up. I got out of the car, ID'd myself. They said, what are you doing here? And I said, well, I've got a friend that's meeting a married lady down here, and they need some privacy. And one of the Little Rock officers told me, he said, well, if the school gets burglarized, said, I hope you can fade that heat. And I said, well, certainly I can. So some period of time passed. The governor shows back up. He gets in the car, and he said, what was that going on a while ago? And I said, well, it was Little Rock City Police. And he said, what happened? And I said, well, I told him that I had a friend that was meeting a married lady, and they needed some privacy. And he said, well, Larry, what would you have done if they'd have tried to come through here? And I said, well, Governor, first they was going to have to come over the car, and then next they were going to have to come over me. And he said, I like that. I like that. That's good.
Roger, relate the incident involving the female employee of Arkansas Power and Light.
That particular morning, the trooper called and said that there will be female by such and such name, there in about 15 minutes, go ahead and let her in, she's okay. Well, once she got inside the grounds, she was met by that trooper, and he had received orders from Governor Bill Clinton to carry this lady to the basement of the governor's mansion. And in the governor's mansion, there's 3 floors. You have the basement floor, you have the middle floor, which is open to the public for tours and things, and then the 3rd floor is the living quarters, the governor's bedrooms, a living room for him and his family. He was ordered, the trooper was ordered by Governor Clinton to deliver the lady to him in the basement area, what we call the game room. After he delivered this lady to the governor, he was then ordered by the governor to stand watch on the middle floor, the 2nd floor, and that if Hillary woke up, to come down there and warn him, and they could sneak the woman out of the back door.
That brings a story to mind. It was 11 to 7 shift. Hillary was out of town. He called me, told me, he said, I have a friend that's going to drop by. It's probably going to be 11:30 before she gets here. Said when she drives in the gate, just buzz me in the house and let me know. So about 11:15, a small, compact pickup truck drove in the back gate. I buzzed him and I said, Governor, I think your visitor has just arrived. He walked out, met the lady. They went into the house, stayed 15 to 20 minutes in the house, came out, sat back down in the truck. The back gate was closed. A sexual act took place in this pickup truck. The parking area immediately behind, or immediately beside the governor's mansion, then 100 or so feet, there's a camera, a pan, tilt, zoom camera that's in the back of the mansion. I focused that camera on the truck, watched this act taking place. During this time, the babysitter drove up to the back gate. It's 11:30, 12 o'clock, or after then. I walk out to find out who it is, tell her, I said, Melissa, we've had a report of a prowler on the grounds. I said, I want you to go straight to your house, go in your house, and lock the doors. She done that. Some period of time went by, the governor, the lady left, the governor came out to our office and says, who was that at the back gate, Larry? And I said, that was a babysitter. And I said, what I done, I told her to go to her house that would have had a report of a prowler being on the grounds and for her to lock her doors and not get out of the house. He said, that's great. He said, she didn't see me back there, did she? And I said, no, she did not see you, sir.
Larry, tell us about the incident of Bill Clinton relating where he had researched the Bible on a particular issue.
We were in the car, and I don't remember how the subject came up, but it came up about oral sex. And he said, I have researched the Bible, I have talked to a minister, and it is not a sin, it is not adultery, for oral sex.
Okay, gentlemen, one last question, and it's for both of you. Has Bill Clinton ever denied any of y'all's accusations?
He has never denied any of the accusations that Roger Perry and myself or the ones L.D. Brown has made against him.
All Bill Clinton has ever said is that these stories are ridiculous. And believe me, they are ridiculous and they are bizarre. These stories are sleazy. The stories themselves are sleazy, bizarre, and ridiculous. Not telling the stories, because the telling of the stories is the truth.
Roger Perry and myself spent many, many hours deciding what we were going to do about this issue. It wasn't something that was thought up in an hour or two and we decided to do this. It was many, many hours. We have told the truth. Our friends, our co-workers, our families know that we have told the truth, and we will continue to tell the truth.
And we gratefully thank both of you very much.
Thank you, Roger, and thank you, Larry. In summation, I would like to say that I'm sure you noticed that the troopers agreed and were sworn to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. They didn't swear to tell the whole truth because there's no way that the whole truth concerning this investigation can be told in an hour. I would like to tell you that things are different today, but not 30 days ago, the director of the Employment Security Division for the state of Arkansas, when it was found that the presidential campaign owed $10,000 in taxes and penalties, that $5,000 in penalties was forgiven by that director in his office. It was a clear violation of the Arkansas state laws. But if you and I stand up and we are counted, we can make a difference.